హరే 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 రామ్.
హరే కృష్ణ ప్రభు ధన్యవాదాలు.
రామ్. హరే కృష్ణ రాజు ప్రభుజీ ధన్యవాద ప్రణామ్. ఈమె మా అంశని స్కూల్ సన్ సిటీకి వచ్చిన ప్రభు.
ఓకే ఓకే ప్రభుజీ. అదే మీరు నన్ను హోస్ట్ చేస్తే చేయండి ప్రభుజీ. నేను మళ్ళీ దీపమాతను చేస్తాను 8 తర్వాత. ఇఫ్ యూ కెన్, ఇఫ్ యూ ఆర్ ఇన్ ద కాల్.
మీరు ల్యాప్టాప్ లో ఉన్నారా మాత? అంటే ఆ మెసేజ్ చూసుకోవాలి, నేను పెట్టిందా చికెన్
పెట్టింది మాతది పెట్టింది, పాతది పెట్టింది.
ఓకే.
నాకు కొన్ని డేస్ కష్టమైతే ప్రభుజీ. ఐ యామ్ టేక్ కేర్ ఆఫ్ ఎవ్రీథింగ్.
సారీ బ్రో, మీ ఇంటికి వద్దాం అనుకున్నా. యాక్చువల్లీ నేను మళ్ళీ కొంచెం పూణే పని ఉంది బ్రో, ఈ రోజు పూణే వెళ్తున్నా.
ఓకే ఓకే.
మళ్ళీ వచ్చినాక కలుస్తాం ప్రభుజీ. ఓకేనా మాతాజీ?
ఓకే ప్రభుజీ.
అంతే సెట్ అయిందా కొంచెం? ఆ రోజు మీ ఇంటికి వచ్చినప్పుడు అది ఎదురుగున్న గౌరవ ప్రభు వాళ్ళ ఇంటికి వెళ్ళినాం ప్రభు.
ఓకే.
తర్వాత తెలిసింది ఏంటంటే మీ మీ మాతాజీ వాళ్ళ ఫాదర్ మదర్ వచ్చినట్టు కదా, అవునా?
అవునవును ప్రభుజీ.
ఉన్నారా?
వాళ్ళు వెళ్ళిపోయారు ప్రభుజీ. వాళ్ళ మదర్ ఒక్కతున్నారు ఇప్పుడు. మా మదర్, వాళ్ళ ఫాదర్, వాళ్ళ మదర్ వచ్చిండే.
ఇప్పుడు ఎవరున్నారు?
త్రిష వాళ్ళ మదర్ ఉంది.
మీ మదర్ ఉండేనా?
మా మదర్ వెళ్ళిపోయారు ప్రభుజీ ఇప్పుడు.
ఓకే. ఉంటారా వీళ్ళ మదర్ మరి?
ఉంటారు.
ఓకే, మేబీ ఐ విల్ కమ్ బ్యాక్ ఆన్ మండే ఆర్ ట్యూస్డే ప్రభుజీ. సో వచ్చిన తర్వాత కలుస్తాం ప్రభు. ఓకే
ఓకే ఓకే.
థ్యాంక్ యూ ప్రభుజీ.
హరే కృష్ణ. అదే కరీంనగర్ లో ప్రభుజీ, అది ఇస్కాన్ టెంపుల్ భూమి పూజ.
తెలిసింది అది October 2nd. యాక్చువల్ గా ఈ రేపు భద్ర పూర్ణిమ రేపు కదా. సో భద్ర పూర్ణిమ టుడే ఇస్ 29. యా అయితే అవును ప్రభుజీ తెలిసింది. ఏంటంటే మన సంహౌ ప్రభుజీ ప్రీచింగ్ చేస్తూనే కదా లాస్ట్ 1.5 years నుంచి, 2 years, close to 2 years. సో ఆడున్న డాక్టర్ తోని ఇంకా వేరే కౌన్సిలర్లు వాళ్ళ మొత్తానికి అయితే సంహౌ ఈ అచీవ్ టు ఫైండ్ 3 acres ఆఫ్ ల్యాండ్ ప్రభు. ఇట్స్ వెరీ గుడ్. October 2nd రోజుకు మూవ్ అయింది. యాక్చువల్ గా ఈ రోజు ఉండే భూమి పూజ. October 2nd కి దే వాంటెడ్ టు పిలిచి కలుస్తా నేను మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి కరీంనగర్ పోయినప్పుడు. మొన్న కరీంనగర్ పోయింది కానీ ఇక మా పేరెంట్స్ ఇంటికి మా అక్కల ఇంటికి వెళ్ళినంత ఒక 1-2 days అంతే. మళ్ళీ ఒకసారి వచ్చినప్పుడు కలవాలి. థర్స్డే చేస్తాడు ఆయన సత్సంగం. ఈసారి వచ్చినప్పుడు కలుస్తాను. ఈసారి వస్తే మెట్పల్లి కూడా దర్శనం చేసుకున్నది, అసలు రాలేదు ఇప్పటివరకు. మెట్పల్లి ఆల్సో ఆయన ఓకే ప్రభుజీ. జై శ్రీకృష్ణ. హరే హరే రామ్. Hare Krishna, Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Krishna. Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare 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 Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, 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 Hare 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 Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Hare Ram, Ram, Hare Krishna, Deepamataji, Dhanapranam.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandatpranam.
Yeah.
Should I start the
Hare
mantra
Krishna.
chanting?
Yeah, chain Mother. Then I'll make you host. Hare Krishna, Lalipam Prabhu, Raju Prabhu, Tamikta Mataji, Dhanapranam.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pristhaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Niti Namine. Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We'll start reading Prabhupada Lilamrita, chapter 8. Abhay was an unusual newspaper vendor. He didn't loudly hawk his paper on the street or sell it from a newsstand. He approached individuals quietly as they sat to drink tea, or he would call on acquaintances in their offices or places of business. Taking a copy from the stack he carried underneath his arm, he would present what appeared to be an ordinary tabloid newspaper with bold black headlines across the front page. But what odd headlines, the lowest of the mankind, philosophical problems within social awareness, sufferings of humanity, the pure consciousness of nationalism. Anyone could tell at a glance that this was no ordinary newspaper. Abhay would say something to try to convince them to take it anyway before they said no time. On behalf of his spiritual master and the previous Vaishnava authorities, he was playing a role, the newspaper salesman, a smiling demeanor, a gentlemanly invitation. No, it wasn't an ordinary newspaper, but they would find it interesting, and it cost only 6 paisa. Thus, he was extending the mercy of Lord Chaitanya, handing out the truths of the Vedas in the easy to take form of a newspaper. Samita Mataji?
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dhanavad Pranam.
Hare Krishna Mataji, Dandatpranam.
Yes, Mataji. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Despite his desperate poverty and the urgency of his message, his writings was never shrill, strident, or fanatical. He wrote expecting to find his reader prepared to hear sound philosophy and always willing to accept the truth, especially when presented logically and relevantly and supported by the authoritative Vedic literature. Although experience on the streets of Delhi had shown him that people were shallow, distracted, and uninterested in self-realization, he knew that most people, at least at some time in their lives, pondered the crucial themes of philosophy. whether God exists, whether he is a person, why there is suffering. So Abhay appealed to their higher sentiments. Spring of 1956 brought visits from US Secretary of State Jules, and a few days later, Lord Mountbatten, the former Governor General of India, who was greeted at the airport by thousands. Then came the celebration of the one sacred day of Holi, when urchins spray all passers-by with colored dyes. Prime Minister Nehru toured the Delhi slums, expressing disgust at the prevailing conditions. He announced India's intention to develop atomic energy, stressing its peaceful uses. The weather warmed. A border clash began between India and Pakistan. Delhi railway workers went on strike. Meanwhile, Abhay continued to preach. Shall I read, Mataji? Or?
I'll give it to the next person.
Yes,
Mataji.
Mataji. Thank you,
Raja
Mataji.
Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Mataji, I'll be hearing you.
Hearing more. Okay. Lalpan Prabhu.
Yeah, he somehow managed to meet financial, editorial, and printing demands and published his sixth issue for the year of 1956, the May 20 edition of Back to Godhead. The front page carried a special notice. As a matter of principle, please read Back to Godhead and revive your deeper aspect of personality. There is nothing in it, which is our ideology, manufactured by imperfect senses, imperfect sense perception, but all that is that it contains our message of our liberated sages. We are simply helping them to speak again to men and women in easy language for real life. Every responsible man and woman must therefore read it regularly at a cost of very insignificant sum of rupees 2 or 4 a year, or as rupees 3 per month. Do not neglect it. It is for your interest. It will create a happy society of humanity. Oh, it is 2 rupees char ana, Mataji. 2 by 4 by 4. 2 rupees char ana or 3 ana per month. Okay. In How to Broadcast the Teachings of Bhagavad Gita, he talked about the need for spiritual organization in society, a model community, which he named Gita Nagari, the village where Bhagavad Gita is sung, would live by Bhagavad Gita and preach its message to the world. Praising Mahatma Gandhi for his Vaishnava qualities, Abhay suggested that Gandhi had also esteemed the Gita Nagari concept. It was the only way of relief from the sufferings caused by demoniac principled leaders who were misguiding the present demoralized civilization. Thank you so much, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Adinath Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Please read.
Yeah, thank you. He was calculating how to capture the restless popular imagination. He wanted to present Krishna's teaching in a clear, straightforward way and distribute them widely. He felt that good arguments from authoritative scripture would appeal to sane, impartial, educated people, even though they claimed to be uninterested. He knew that someone, without abandoning his gravity and his absolute conclusion, he must capture their interest. They were relegating religion to some book of scripture on the shelf that they never read, didn't understand, or couldn't believe. He brought it to them as a newspaper, yet it was as good as the scriptures. No, it wasn't what they expected in a newspaper, but they might read it. The chanting process of holy name of the God as conducted by the propaganda of Back to God is not pleasing to the superficial pleasure hunters describing men and women in indecent literatures in national news. But it is the means of releasing the transcendental eternal life. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Vani Mataji, are you in a position to read? Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Dandavat Pranam.
Davara.
Yes, Mataji, I'll read. In addition to selling back to Godhead at tea stalls and delivering copies to donors, Abhay also mailed out free copies both within India and abroad. Mataji, ee color lo నాకు చదవడం కష్టంగా ఉంది. Yeah. Within India and abroad. For years, the vast audience of English-speaking readers outside India had concerned him, and he wanted to reach them. Having gathered addresses of libraries, universities, and cultural and governmental outlets outside India, he mailed as many back to Godheads as he could afford. He prepared a letter for his Western readers, suggesting that they should be even more receptive than his countrymen. Although the message contained in Back to Godhead are all gifts of the ancient sages of India who actually realized the absolute truth, yet at the present moment, the so-called leaders of India are too much enamored by the Western way of material advancement of knowledge. They are completely neglecting the treasure house of knowledge left by the sages. You gentlemen of the Western countries have seen much material science, and yet peace is not within your control. In most cases, you will be feeling the want of peace, although you have enough materially. The basic defect of materialism remains undetected by the misleaders of India, and therefore they are not serious about going back to Godhead, the ultimate aim of life's journey.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
On the home front, Abhay sent copies of his latest issues of Back to Godhead to the President of India, Dr. Rajendra Prasad, along with a letter warning of the perilous fate that awaits a society conducted by Asuras. Please therefore save them from the great fall down. Abhay's letter of November 21 was outspoken. I have got the clue of going back to Godhead just after leaving my present material body, and in order to take along with me all my contemporary men and women of the world, I have started my paper Back to Godhead as one of the means to the way. Please don't think of me as something wonderful or a madman when I say that I shall go back to Godhead after leaving my present material body. It is quite possible for everyone and all of us. Abhay requested His Excellency at least to glance over the headlines of the enclosed 12 copies of Back to Godhead and consider granting the editor an interview. There was immense work to be done on behalf of India's spiritual heritage, and there should be a specific ministry of spiritual affairs for this purpose. I am crying alone in the wilderness at the present moment, wrote Abhay, but His Excellency never replied. Samyukta Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. In his Back to Godhead, Abhay was making propaganda against the atheistic view. In Hope Against Hope, he frankly admitted that 80% of the people he met while selling Back to Godhead were atheists. Sometimes we meet gentlemen of up-to-date taste and try to make them interested in the matter of Back to Godhead. They say very frankly that they have not only no interest in such atheistic subject, but also they condemn the attempt to bring back people in general to the path of Back to Godhead. According to these gentlemen, economic conditions of the Indian people deteriorated on account of their too much faith in God, and the sooner they forgot everything about Godhead, it is better for them, but we cannot agree with this atheistic conclusion of such up-to-date gentlemen devoid of the sense of Godhead. Abhay argued that although independent India was now educating her citizens in godless materialism, her economic conditions were not improving. Many Indians did not even have the bare necessities of life. He cited that 1,20,000 were unemployed in Delhi.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Lalitman Prabhu?
Yes, Mataji.
Yeah, please read.
Great. Some of the well-posted government servants or some of the fortunate businessmen may feel themselves happy, but 90% of their brothers citizens do not know how to meet the both ends together, and therefore the economic condition is definitely not satisfactory. He quoted former United States President Harry S. Truman as saying that national independence means that citizens should have a comfortable life. So, if that were the case, said Abhay, where was India's independence? His point was that all attempts at happiness and prosperity are unlawful as long as they fail to recognize the proprietorship of Supreme Lord. An atheistic civilization could never produce peace. Should I continue, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
In Progressive Ambition and Unsatiated Lust, Abhay wrote, there is no dearth of money, but there is a dearth of peace in the world. The whole human energy having been diverted to this money-making business, it has certainly increased the cheap money-making capacity of total population. But the result is that such unrestricted and unlawful inflation of money has created a bad economy and has enabled us to manufacture huge costly weapons for destroying the result of such cheap money-making business. The authorities of big money-making countries, instead of enjoying peace, are now engaged in making important plans as to how they can save themselves from the modern destructive weapons. And as a matter of fact, a huge sum of money is being thrown into the sea for making an experiment on such dreadful weapons. Such experiments are being carried out not only at a huge cost, but also at a cost of many poor lives, binding thereby such nations in laws of karma. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Vani Mataji. Hare Krishna. Vani Mataji. Adinath Prabhu.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Those who unlawfully accumulated money would find it snatched away by the taxes for wars and other agents of illusory nature in the shape of medical practitioners, lawyers, tax collectors, societies, constitutions, so-called sadhus, famines, earthquakes, and many such calamities. A miser who hesitated to purchase a copy of Back to Godhead by the dictation of illusory nature spent up rupees 20,000 for a week alignments and dead at the end. A similar thing happened when a man who refused to spend a paisa for the service of the Lord spoiled rupees 30,000 in litigation affairs between members of the home. That is the law of nature. A worker in New Delhi post office noticed the title of the magazines Abhay was sending abroad, took the opportunity to argue his atheistic opinions with Abhay. Should I continue, Mataji?
Yes, Prabhuji.
Srila Prabhupada, the postmaster was an Arya Samaji, and he was talking to me about the paper Back to Godhead. He raised a question. If we do our duty nicely, then what is the use of worshipping God? If we become honest, if we become moral, if we do not do anything which is harmful to anyone, if we act in this way, then what is the need of this? Because our people's name was Back to Godhead, he was indirectly protesting. What is the use of propagating the philosophy of Godhead if we act nicely? That is the Arya Samajist view, how to avoid the God.
Thank you.
God. Thank you, Mataji.
Vani Mataji.
Mataji.
Hmm.
So,
Yes,
so I replied that if one is not God conscious, he cannot be a moralist, he cannot be truthful, he cannot be honest. This is our point of view. You study the whole world just on these 3 points: morality, honesty, dutifulness. But if he is not God conscious, he cannot continue such things. To revive all these good qualities in society, you first have to invoke God consciousness. A Delhi man noticing Abhay distributing Back to Godhead remarked, "Where is Godhead? Can you show me God?" Abhay replied to the challenge, but also pondered a deeper reply as he moved throughout the city during the day. On returning to his room, he began an article. Where is Godhead? Is it possible to see him?
Thank you.
In the second, okay, thank you.
Brahmarama Mataji. Hare Krishna. Brahmarama Mataji.
Yes, Mataji. I agree.
Adagaldra.
From where, Mataji?
In the secretariat buildings.
Yes, Mataji. I'll read, Mataji. 1 minute, Mataji.
Yeah.
In the Secretariat buildings in New Delhi, there is an inspection, there is an inscription on the
Stone.
that literally does not descend upon a people, but it has to be earned before it can be enjoyed. Actually, this is the fact, and we have seen it that much sacrifice had to be rendered by the people of India before they could gain Swaraj. But in the matter of Godhead, some irresponsible people ask, where is God? Can you show me? Have you seen God? These are some of the questions put forward by some irresponsible men who want to have everything very cheap. It for attaining a temporary false sense of liberty in this material world, so much labor and sacrifice have to be requested. Is it possible to see Godhead, the absolute truth, so cheaply? To see God means complete liberty from all conditions. But is Godhead an attending orderly so that he may be present at my command? The atheist, however, demands like that, as if Godhead is his paid servant, and he thinks that Godhead is an imaginary thing. Otherwise, he would have appeared before us as soon as the demand to see him is made. One time, while he was walking on a secluded street, pursuing his back to Godhead duties, a stray cow, the kind commonly seen wandering the streets of any Indian town or city, suddenly changed him, goring his side with her horn and knocked him down. At first, he couldn't get up, and no one came to help him. As he lay there, he wondered why it had happened.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare Krishna. Sapan Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare
Sapan-
Krishna, Mataji.
Yeah. Please read.
Summer came and the 110-degree heat made it almost intolerable to spend time out of doors. Hot, dust-laden winds blew in the city streets. Street-side hawkers closed their business during the day. In early May, during 112-degree heat, a man collapsed in the street and died of heat stroke. But Abhay ignored the heat and the ordinary limitations of the body. One day, while delivering back to Godhead to various addresses in the city, Abhay suddenly began reeling, half unconscious, overcome by the heat. At that very moment, an acquaintance of his, a man he approached during his preaching, happened to be passing by in his car, and he took Abhay to a doctor. The doctor diagnosed him as a victim of heat stroke and ordered him to rest. On June 20, Abhay produced the 8th consecutive fortnightly edition of the year. Its front page article condemning both materialistic family life and false renunciation of family life. It had been almost 2 years exactly since he had left his home and taken to the Vanaprastha order, and his comments on family life seemed autobiographical as well as scriptural. He quoted a statement by Prahlad Maharaj from Srimad Bhagavatam. Persons who are always disturbed in mind with cares and anxieties of household affairs may quit of the place which is the black hole, temporary abode family life, to kill oneself and take shelter onto the lotus feet of the personality of Godhead by entering into the forest. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. And he admitted, the management of a family is more difficult than that of an empire. But trying to avoid family life by living in the jungle without the real spirit of renunciation was monkey renunciation. In the jungle, there were many monkeys who lived naked, ate fruits, and kept female companions. The real remedy lies in the act of accepting the service of the lotus feet of the Lord that makes one free from all cares and anxieties of life, that makes one able to see Godhead always and everywhere. Real renounced life, therefore, was possible without going into the forest. Even if one remained in the dress of a householder, he could be freed from cares and anxieties by engaging himself in devotional service. On September 1st, US President Eisenhower condemned the Soviets' secret testing of a nuclear bomb equal to 1 million tons of TNT and scoffed at the Soviets' claims for peace. In the Middle East, Egypt's Nasser nationalized the operation of the Suez Canal, causing an international crisis. On September 20, 81 nations met at the UN to form a new international agency to help failed atoms for peaceful purposes. Abhay saw some of the headlines and heard talk of the latest news from gentlemen he visited. He frankly told them that without Krishna consciousness, the promises of cooperation by the politicians were all phantasmagoria. Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati had said that if only one soul could be turned into a pure devotee, his mission would be a success. Yet sometimes Abhay became overwhelmed when he thought of how small he was, how much work had to be done on behalf of Krishna, and how difficult it was to convince even one conditioned soul. Hare Krishna. Giriraj Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
ఇంకా డ్రైవింగ్ లో ఉన్నాం అవుతుంది
ప్రభుజీ నెక్స్ట్ ఏం చేయాలి ప్రభుజీ లీలామృత అయిపోయింది
ఇంకా టైం ఉంది కదా అనదర్ 15 minutes
ఉంది ప్రభుజీ భాగవతం స్టార్ట్ చేయనా
నెక్స్ట్ అచ్చా అయిపోయిందా ఇది చాప్టర్ మాత్రమే
అవును ప్రభుజీ
ఓకే
భాగవతం స్టార్ట్ చేయమంటారా
భాగవతంది మనది అది మనది సుభద్రి గారు అది ఎప్పుడో ప్రభుజీ ఫార్వర్డ్ చేసిండు రాజు ప్రభు సో భాగవతం సుభద్రిని ఒకవేళ ఫైండ్ అవుట్ చేసి అది చదవండి
ఓకే చూస్తాను పంపించారా అని పంపించినట్టు మీకు గుర్తుందా
లాంగ్ బ్యాక్ యాక్చువల్లీ ఇన్ ద బిగినింగ్ ఆఫ్ ద చాప్టర్ పంపించాడు అది సిసి మధ్య
we need to revise the Subodhini.
Yeah, Prabhuji, I'm checking.
Let's go, beta. Juice daata ho.
Raju Prabhu, will you be able to forward that? Because nakemo download failed and ostandi paatadi appudu nenu download cheyale. It is on Purusha Sukta confirmed anukuntanu. On 30th August, Prabhuji. 30th August undi na దగ్గర okay. అదేనా ప్రభుజీ పురుష సూక్త కన్ఫర్మ్ డే కదా మనం చేయాల్సింది
అవును మాతాజీ
ఓకే సంయుక్త మాతాజీ
ఎస్ మాతాజీ
మాతాజీ ఇది చేయండి
Yes, Mataji. Srimad Bhagavatam 2.6 Purusha Sukta confirmed 1 to 17 verse. Brahma answers question 6 Yacha. The Lord as the material cause and the efficient cause of the universe. Lord subtle sense organ tan matra plus element. Lord's gross sense organ sense devata plus subtle sense organ of Virat Rupa and Jiva. 18 to 22 verse. Ekapada Vibhuti versus Tripada Vibhuti. 18 to 20 verse. Spiritual world versus material world. 21 to 22 verse. The Lord is the shelter of the paths of knowledge and enjoyment. He is aloof from the material world. 23 to 30 verse. Answer to question 6. Brahma's testimony that the Lord is the material cause. Brahma collects ingredients for the sacrifice from the Lord's limbs. 31 to 33. Answers to question 2, question 5. Yet Adhishtanam and Yet Param. By Lord's Narayana's empowerment, Brahma creates. 34 to 38. It is not possible to completely know the Lord. 34. My words, actions, and thoughts are never false. 35 to 38. I cannot understand the Lord. Still, let us glorify him. 39 to 46. Brahma describes the original creator of Mahavishnu. 39 verse. Answer to question 4. Yet samastam, conservation or dissolution of the universe. 40 to 42 verse. Knowing the Lord. 43 to 45 verse. None of the material things are the Lord's Swarupa. 46 verse. Now I will describe the Lilavataras.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Yeah. Vani Mataji.
Yeah, Mataji.
ఇది చదవండి.
Answers to question 6. Yacha. What is the universe composed of? The Lord, both the material and effective cause of the universe. 1 to 16 is material cause. Garbhodakshay Vishnu's limbs provide the ingredients for the universe. Garbhodakshay Vishnu's subtle sense organ leads to sense object, Tanmatra plus element. Then Garbhodakshay Vishnu's gross sense leads to sense Devata plus subtle sense organ of Virata Rupa and Jiva. How Lord Garbhodakshay Vishnu's limbs generate various ingredients of this universe is summarized in the above two sutras, which are formed based on 2.6.1 to 12. Examples: the Lord's Jiva is taste plus water. The Lord's Talu, Varuna, Jiva of the Virat Rupa and Jiva. A similar description of Virat Rupa is also found in 2.10.17 to 30. Both these descriptions are put together in a tabular format on page 188. Some details that are not found in the table are mentioned in the following table. Lord's
Okay, Mataji,
organs.
I'll give it to the next person.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mataji. Brahmaramba Mataji. Hare Krishna. Brahmaramba Mataji.
Yes, Mataji.
The Lord's organ products.
Yes, Mataji. Lord's organ products. Number 1, 7 dhatus, sapta dvatavaha, 7 Vedic meters. 4th one, body, active principles, powers of everything. 5, hair and bird, nails, arms. Hair and bird, clouds, nails, lightning, minerals and metals, arms, the Lokapalas who protect the people. Steps, Bhuvar and Svargalokas. Lotus feet, protection and bestowal of all desires. Place of evacuation, Gudam. Envy, misfortune, death and hell. Back, frustration, ignorance and immorality. Veins, great river and rivulet. What is that word, Mataji?
Rivulets.
Rivulets. Bones, mountains. Belly, oceans, juice in food. Pradhana, destruction. Heart, mind. Consciousness, dharma of everyone, truth and knowledge.
Thank you, Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Lalitman Prabhu.
Yeah, 13 to 16, text 13 to 16. I, Brahma, Shiva, and all other living entities, and whatever existed in the past, present, and future is covered by the universal form of the Lord. Although the Lord is transcendental to all of them, he extends beyond the universe by 10 fingers. Text 17, effective cause. The Lord also acts as the effective cause of the universe by energizing the universe both from inside and outside. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Adinath Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Mataji. 18 to 28, Ekapada Vibhuti versus Tripada Vibhuti. 18, the Lord of both worlds is not just the Lord of material world, but is beyond the material world, and also the Lord of spiritual world Amrita Abhaya. It is difficult to measure his glories. 19. Tripada. This material universe, as explained in 2.6.1 to 18th, is a manifestation of 1/4 of his energy. Above this, Ekapada is Tripada, which is characterized by Amritam, deathlessness, Shemam, happiness, and Abhayam, fearlessness. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Tapan Prabhu. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji. Quality, cycle of birth and death, Ekpada present, Tripada absent. Residents, Grahamedis, Abhrad Vratas, no birth. Lord's inclination, Ekpada not inclined, Tripada more inclined. Nature of souls, Ekapada wants to lord it over material nature, Tripada performs devotional service. Fear, Ekapada present, Tripada absent. Forgetfulness, Ekapada present as avidya, Tripada not present because of vidya. Souls, Ekapada less in number, Tripada innumerable. Sandhini manifestation, Ekapada 1/4, Tripada 3/4. Satchitanand experience, Ekapada meager, Tripada full. Continue, Mataji, stop.
Yeah, you can continue this 20 and 21, Prabhuji.
Whom are they meant for? The spiritual world, Tripada, is for aprajnanam, those who are not meant for rebirth, and material world, Ekapada, is for Grahamedis and Abhradvratas, those who don't strictly follow verbs of celibacy. The paths of enjoyment and liberation. The Jiva, qualified by ignorance, wanders on the path of enjoyment, while Jiva, endowed with knowledge, wanders on the path of liberation. The Lord is the shelter of both paths. Hare Krishna.
Surendra Prabhu, Hare Krishna.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Please read 22.
Yeah. The Lord is aloof. The Lord creates and maintains Ekpada through his energies, yet he is aloof from it and remains in the spiritual world like the sun, who is separate from its rays and heat.
Continue, Prabhuji.
23 to 30, answer to question 6. Yacha Brahma substantiates from his own experience that the Supreme Lord is the material cause of this universe. 23. When I appeared from the lotus, from the Lord's navel, I could not see any ingredients for sacrifice other than the limbs of the Lord. Should I continue?
Yeah, Prabhuji, please continue.
24 to 26. For performing sacrificial ceremonies, one requires sacrificial ingredients such as the sacrificial altar, grains, 4 priests, hymns, etc. 27 to 28. All these ingredients are arranged by the Lord's limbs, and through them I perform sacrifice for the pleasure of the Lord, the enjoyer of the sacrifice. 29 to 30. Thereafter, your 9 brothers and later the Prajapatis, Manus, sages, and others worship the Lord with such sacrifices. Hare Krishna.
I can read, Mataji.
Yeah,
Just
Prabhuji.
that.
Okay. Please read this whole thing, Prabhuji. 31 to 33 and 34 to 38. 31 to 33, 34 to 38 అన్ని చదవండి.
Yes, thank you. To 33 answers to 2 and question 5. Yad adhishtanam and yat param. 31. Yad adhishtanam, shelter of the universe. All the universes are therefore situated in Lord Narayana's powerful material energies, which he accepts self-sufficiently, although he is beyond gunas. 37. Yet from dependence of the universe. Only by his empowerment I create. Lord Shiva destroys, and he himself maintains everything. 33. Thus I have answered all your inquiries. You must know that there is nothing as cause or effect apart from the Supreme Personality of God. 34, 38. It is not possible to completely know the Lord. 34. I hold Lord Hari in my heart with great zeal. Therefore, number 1, my words are never false. Number 2, the work of my mind is never false. Number 3, my senses are never distracted. Na bharati menga mrushopalakshate, na vai kvachin me manaso mrushagati, na me rishi kani patantya asatpate, yanme hrudaukan, yanme hrudaukantyavata dhruto harihi. 35. I cannot understand the Lord, although I am one in the disciplic succession of Vedic wisdom. Number 2, filled with austerities. Number 3, worshipped by the Prajapatis. And number 4, an expert in mystic powers and self-realization. Soham sammayamas tapomaya prajapatinam abhivandita patihi asthaya yogam nipunam samahitas tamnadhyagacham yatatma sambhaya yatatma sambhava.
Thank you, Prabhuji.
35 అయింది ఉందా ఈ సెక్షన్ 35 ఇంకా 3 ఉన్నాయి కదా verses.
Only e page ఉంది.
Yeah.
Even the Lord himself is unable to estimate his own limits, what to speak of others. Therefore, it is best for me to surrender unto the Lord's lotus feet, which destroy material existence, bhavarchidam, are all auspicious, swastya ayanam, and allow one to perceive all happiness, sumangalam. I, Shiva, and you can't ascertain the limits of spiritual happiness, then what to speak of other demigods? Bewildered by Maya, we can see only this manifested cosmos according to our individual ability. Still, let us glorify his activities when he appears as various incarnations, though we cannot fully understand him. Samrita Mataji,
Yes, Mataji.
the last section, in 39 to 46.
Yes, Mataji. 39 to 46. Brahma describes the original creator Mahavishnu. 39. Answer to question 4. Yat Samastam. Conservation or dissolution of the universe. Mahavishnu, without birth, the soul of all beings, creates, maintains, and destroys himself, the universe by himself in himself. 40. Qualities of the Lord. He is the absolute truth, pure, without any material tinge, the embodiment of full and perfect knowledge, all pervading, without beginning or end, and without rival. 41. How to know him. Great thinkers who are completely free from material hankerings and who have controlled senses can know him. But by untenable arguments, the Lord disappears from one's right. Note point. Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakura explains that 2.6.40 to 41 describe the Lord's impersonal aspect and that the great thinkers know it by controlling the mind and senses. 42 verse. His zone of control. Karanodaka Sai Vishnu, the first incarnation of the Lord, is the master of eternal time, space, cause and effects, mind, elements, ego, modes, senses, universal form, Garbhodaka Sai Vishnu, and the sum total of all living beings. 43 to 45. None of the material things are the Lord's Svarupa. Anyone from Brahma down to the insects, and anything in this world having various qualities may appear to be the specific truth and the form of the Lord. But none of these are his Svarupa, but are only a fragment of his transcendental potency. Linking point. I described Purushavasaras predominantly concerning the Maya Shakti. 46. Now I will describe the Lila Avataras, which are composed of the Chit Shakti, which are pleasing to hear and are to be relished. Hearing of these will counteract all foul matters accumulated in the ear. Karnakashaya Shoshan. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Mataji. Yeah. Giraj Prabhu, we are done with the Subodhini. Do you want to take over?
Sloka, sir. In computer connect just give me a couple of minutes. Meanwhile, you can open up Slokas.
Yeah, Prabhuji.
హరే కృష్ణ మాతాజీ.
మాతాజీ.
మాతాజీ నేను చూడకుండా చెప్దాం అనుకున్నాను, ట్రై చేస్తాను మాతాజీ.
చెప్పండి, స్టార్ట్ చేయండి.
రేపే మాతాజీ టెస్ట్.
ఆల్ ది బెస్ట్ మాతాజీ, మీరు చేయగలరు.
ఎస్ మాతాజీ. హరే కృష్ణ. NOI text 1. వాచో వేగం మనసా క్రోధ వేగం జిహ్వా వేగముదరోపాస్త వేగం ఏతాన్ వేగాన్యో విషహేత ధీరా సర్వాం అపిమాం పృథ్వీం సశిష్యాత్. Translation: a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, the urge of tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Text 2. అత్యాహార ప్రయాసశ్చ ప్రజల్పో నియమాగ్రహ జన సంగశ్చ లౌల్యం చ షడ్భిర్భక్తి వినశ్యతి. Translation: one's devotional service is spoiled when he gets too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things which are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them, not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, being greedy for mundane achievements. Text 3. उत्साहान्निश्चयात् धैर्यात् तत्तत् कर्म प्रवर्तनात् संगत्यागात् सतो वृत्तेर्षड्भिर्भक्ति प्रसिद्ध्यति. Translation: there are 6 favorable principles which are helpful for the execution of pure devotional service. First one, being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regulative principles, such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, chanting, hearing, and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees, following in the principles, following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles are favorable for the successful execution of pure devotional service. Text 4. Dadati pratigrihnati guhyamakhyati pritchati bhunkte bhojayati chaiva shadvidham priti lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity and accepting charitable gifts, realizing one's mind in confidence and inquiring confidentially, accepting prasada and offering prasada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Ishopanishad invocation prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Translation: the Supreme Personality of Godhead is perfect and complete. Because he is completely perfect, all the emanations from him, such as this phenomenal word, is also.
Continue, Mataji, no problem. Onwards to Japan.
Yes,
are
Mataji.
perfectly equipped as complete wholes.
Complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete wholes. ఇదే కొంచెం కష్టంగా ఉంది మాతాజీ.
అంటే whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete whole.
Complete in itself, yeah. Because he is complete whole, all because he is complete
Even
whole,
though so many
even though
so many complete units emanate from him, he still remains
remain complete
balance.
balance. Yes,
Yeah.
Mataji. Sorry, Mataji.
No problem.
Next one.
అంటే బేసిక్లీ ఏంటంటే అది హీఈస్ ఎ కంప్లీట్ హోల్ అండ్ ఫ్రమ్ హిమ్ కంప్లీట్ యూనిట్స్ ఆర్ ఎమినేటింగ్ బట్ కంప్లీట్ యూనిట్స్ ఎమినేట్ అయినా కూడా తనలో ఏమీ తరగట్లేదు అనమాట హీ స్టిల్ రిమైనింగ్ కంప్లీట్ దట్స్ వాట్ ఇట్ మీన్స్
Yes, Mataji.
what is coming out is complete, he is himself complete, even though complete units are coming out of him, he always remains in complete balance. That's what it is.
Yeah,
Next.
Yes, Mataji. Mantra 1. ईशावास्यमिदं सर्वं यत्किञ्च जगत्यां जगत् तेन त्यक्तेन भुञ्जीता मा गृढा कस्य स्विद्धनम्. Everything inanimate or inanimate is owned and controlled by the Lord within the universe.
One should therefore
Everything-
accept only those things.
Yes, Mataji. One should accept only those things which are set aside as quota. One should not accept those things which are which we know that whom they we
Belong.
know to whom they belong.
Mm.
Yes, Mataji.
Correct, Mataji. Very good. Hari bol, Mataji. Wonderful attempt.
Invocation is కష్టంగా ఉంది Mataji. Thank you, Mataji.
హరి బోల్ సంయుక్త మాతాజీ.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
నెక్స్ట్ ఎవరు ధైర్యం చేయబోతున్నారు వితౌట్ సీయింగ్ ఎవరు చెప్తారు
శ్లోకాస్ ఒకటి చూడకుండా చెప్తాను మాతాజీ ట్రాన్స్లేషన్ చూసి చదువుతారు
అయితే ఫస్ట్
మాతాజీ హరే కృష్ణ మాతాజీ శ్లోకాస్ ఒకటి చూడకుండా చెప్పొచ్చు కదా ట్రాన్స్లేషన్ అంటే మీనింగ్ తెలుసు కానీ లైక్ ఎగ్జాక్ట్ గా లైక్
అంటే శ్లోక చెప్పి ట్రై చేయండి మీనింగ్ ఓన్ వర్డ్స్ లో ట్రై చేయండి నేను అందిస్తాను
షూర్ మాతాజీ ఐల్ ట్రై మాతాజీ
ట్రై చేయండి
హరే కృష్ణ నెక్టర్ ఆఫ్ ఇన్స్ట్రక్షన్ మంత్ర 1 వాచో వేగం మనసః క్రోధ వేగం జిహ్వా వేగం ఉదరోపస్థ వేగం ఏతాన్ వేగాన్యో విషహేత ధీరా సర్వామపి మాం పృథివీం సశిష్యాత్. A sober person who can control his tongue,
tolerate the urge to speak.
Yeah,
Vacho
tolerate
is, urge to
yes.
speak. Yeah.
Yes. Tolerate urge to speak, mind's demands, actions of the anger, and also urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals. Who is he is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Wonderful. Next.
Second one. Atyahara prayashascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyamsha shadbir bhaktir vinasyati.
ఇది మీకు షేర్ చేస్తాను మీరు చెప్పండి చూసి చాలా పెద్దది.
Thank you. One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities. Atyahar, eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than necessary. Prayashasya, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Prajalpa, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters. Niyamagraha, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual progress, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsical. Janasangasya, associating with worldly minded people who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. Laulyam, greedy for mundane achievements. उत्साहनिश्चया धैर्या तत्तत् कर्म प्रवर्तनात् संगत्यागात् सतुरुत्ते षड्भिर्भक्ति प्रसिद्ध्यति. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service: being enthusiastic, enduring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees, following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These are 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Dadati pratigrihnati guhyamakhyati pruchati bhunte bhojayate chaiva shadvidam priti lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, dadati pratigrihnati, revealing one's mind in confidence. Revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, bhunte bhojayate chaiva, accepting prasada and offering prasada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee with another.
అంటే both ways అన్నమాట. One is we giving, another one is we accepting. So when you are revealing one's mind in confidence, you are also inquiring confidence. Now, outer person also has to reveal their mind in confidence. So both sides, you can just think of both sides. Like if I am revealing, then what will the other person do? So I am inquiring confidentially.
Yes, Purnamada, I'll try Mataji on.
Okay.
Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate. Okay. Yeah. The personality of Godhead,
Personality of Godhead, yeah.
God is perfect and complete. So he is perfect and complete. So the everything emanates from him, Mataji. Because he is completely perfect, so the emanations such as the phenomenal world also complete in itself. Yeah. There is one point, Mataji.
Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself.
Out of this complete whole is also complete, though all the however many complete wholes emanate from him, he is still complete. Yeah, the exact value, but even though so many complete things emanates from him, he remains the complete balance. Thank you, Mataji. Ishavashamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tektvena bhunjita magrida kasya siddhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself and reject other things. Yeah, do not accept things
those
by
things
knowing.
which do not belong to you. If they do not belong to you, whom do they belong to? You know whom they belong to.
Yeah. Not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Yeah. Hare Krishna Mataji. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Yeah, next.
Mataji, can I say Mataji?
Yes, Mataji. Do you want to see or without seeing?
Mataji, slokas without seeing I can recite Mataji. Translation, I'm learning, honestly speaking.
Okay, Mataji. So you tell the first sloka, I'm just hiding it.
Yes, Mataji. वाचो वेगम मनसः क्रोध वेगम जिह्वा वेगम उदरोपस्थ वेगम एतान् वेगान् यो विषहेत धीरः सर्वाम् अपि मां पृथ्वीं च शिष्यत्.
Vacho Vegam. What is Vacho Vegam?
Urge. Vegam means urge, Mataji. Vacho means speech.
Urge to speak.
Urge to speak.
Yes. One who can tolerate the urge to speak.
By seeing, I will read Mataji. Translation.
Yeah, Mataji.
A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and the urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals, is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Next sloka.
అత్యాహార ప్రయసాచ మాతాజీ
Yes, Mataji.
అత్యాహార ప్రయసాచ ప్రజల్పో నియమాగ్రహ జనసంగచ్చ లౌల్యంచ షడ్భిర్భక్తిర్వినశ్యతి. Translation: once a devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements. Third sloka. उत्साहा निश्चया धैर्यात् तत्तत् कर्म प्रवर्तनात् संगत्यागात् सतो वृत्ते षड्भिर्भक्ति प्रसिद्ध्यति. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of poor devotional service: being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regulative principles such as Ravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees and following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Dadati pratigrahati guhyamakyati prachati bhunte bhojayate chaiva shadvidam priti lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charity, reading one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasada and offering prasada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Isopanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. The personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Ishavashyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunchita magrida kashya svidhanam. Translation, Mataji. Okay, Mata. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Mataji. Next, hold.
Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Mataji, Dandat Pranam.
Dandat Pranam, Prabhuji.
Can I?
Yeah, please do, Prabhuji.
I just want to see and.
I have kept it here.
Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jivva vegam udro prastha vegam itan vegam yovashista dheerya sarvam api mam prithvim sasistya. Translation: a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind demands, the actions of anger and the urge of tongue, belly and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Second, Atyahara Prashascha Prajalpo Niyamagraha Jana Sanghascha Laulyam Cha Shadhi Bhakti Vinashyati. Translation: one devotional service is spoiled when he became too entangled in the following 6 activities: 1. Eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required. Second, over enduring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain. Third, talking unnecessarily about mundane subjects matters. Fourth, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of the spiritual advancement or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scripture and working independently or whimsically. Fifth, associating with the wildly minded person who are not interested in Krishna consciousness. And sixth, being greedy for mundane achievements.
ఇక్కడ అత్యాహార ప్రయాసశ్చ ప్రయాసస్
అత్యాహార ప్రయాసశ్చ ఓకే ఉత్సాహాన నిశ్చయ ధైర్య తత్తత్ కర్మ ప్రవర్తనాత్ సంఘత్యాగ సతో వృత్త సద్భిర్భక్తి ప్రసిద్ధ్యతి. Translation: there are 6 principles favorable to execution of a pure devotional service. 1, being enthusiastic. 2, enduring with confidence. 3, being patient. 4, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vaishnav, Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna. 5th, abandoning the association of non-devotees. And 6, following the footsteps of previous acharyas. The 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Dadati pratigrahnati guhyam akhyati prachyati bhunte bhojayante chaiva sadvidham priti lakshanam. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, and inquiring confidentially, accepting prasada and offering accepting prasada are the 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Ishopanishad Om Purnamada Purnam Idam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Ivasisyate. Hare Krishna. Mataji koddigi ikkada correction. Translation: the personality of the Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as this phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete whole. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is complete whole, even though so many complete units emanates from him, he remains the complete balance. Isavasyam idam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena taktena bhunjita magraha kasya svi dhanam. Everything animate or inanimate inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only these things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Mataji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Prabhuji.
Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Who will go next? అందరిది అయిపోయింది. సురేంద్ర ప్రభు.
Yeah, Mataji.
చేస్తారా?
వాచో వేగం మనసా క్రోధ వేగం జిహ్వా వేగం ఉదరోపస్థ వేగం ఏతాన్ వేగాన్ యో విషహేత ధీరా సర్వాం అపీమాం పృథ్వీం సశిష్యాత్. A sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of the anger and the urges of the tongue, belly and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world. Next one, Mataji. Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagrahah janasangascha laulyamscha shadbhir bhakti vinashyati. One's devotion service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessary about mundane subject matters, practicing the spiritual rules and regulations only for the sake of following them and not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the spiritual scriptures and working independently or whimsically, associating with the worldly minded persons who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements. उत्साहान्निश्चयात् धैर्यात् तत्तत् कर्म प्रवर्तनात् संगत्यागात् सतो वृत्तित् षड्भैर bhakti prasidhyati. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of the pure devotional service: being enthusiastic, endeavoring with confidence, being patient, acting according to the regulative principles such as Shavanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and following the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assures the complete success of pure devotional service. ददाति प्रतिगृह्णाति गुह्यमाख्याति पृच्छति भुङ्क्ते भोजयते चैव षड्विधं प्रीतिलक्षणम्. Offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasada and offering prasada are 6 symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Ishopanishad. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. The personality of the Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect, all emanations from him, such as the phenomenal world, all are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself, because he is complete whole. Even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Next one. Isavasyamidam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhunjita magrida kasya svidhanam. Everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as a quota, as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong.
Next, is there anybody? Sapan Prabhu, do you want to do?
Yeah, Hare Krishna Mataji.
Any other?
Just the translation?
You can just do the shlokas, Prabhuji.
Okay.
ఇంకెవరైనా ఉన్నారా భక్తి శాస్త్రి స్టూడెంట్స్? సంధ్య మాతాజీ చేస్తారా?
హరే కృష్ణ మాతాజీ. మాతాజీ ఓన్లీ శ్లోకాస్ చేయను మాతాజీ.
ఓకే మాతాజీ. అయితే ఫస్ట్ సపన్ ప్రభుది ఫినిష్ చేసేసి దాని తర్వాత మీరు చేస్తారా?
యా ఓన్లీ శ్లోకాస్ ఐ కెన్ డూ వితౌట్ సీయింగ్ మాతాజీ.
You do without seeing, but you also read the translation.
Okay, yes
By
Mataji.
seeing, okay?
Okay.
Sapan Prabhu, you can complete, Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna. Vacho vegam manasakrodha vegam jihva vegam udaropashta vegam etan vegan yo vishaheta dhira sarvam abhimam prithvim sashishyat atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagrahah janasangascha laulyam cha shadabir bhakti vinashyati उत्साहान्निश्चयात् धैर्यात् तत्तत् कर्मा प्रवर्तनात् संगत्यागात् सतो वृत्ते षड्भिर्भक्ति प्रसिद्ध्यति ददाति प्रतिगृह्णाति गुह्यम् आख्याति पृच्छति भुङ्क्ते भोज्यते चैव षड्विधं प्रीतिलक्षणम् Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnam Eva Vashishyate. Ishavasya Midam Sarvam Yatkincha Jagatyam Jagat Tena Tyaktena Bunjita Magrida Kasya Smidhanam. Hare
Thank you,
Krishna.
Prabhuji. ధన్యవాదాజీ. ప్రభుజీ కూడా ఉన్నారా? డస్ హీ ఆల్సో వాంట్ టు డూ? ధన్యవాదాజీ.
హరే కృష్ణ మాతాజీ.
ప్రభుజీ కూడా చేస్తారా? మీరు ఒకరు చేస్తారు.
I did not ask him, Mataji. I think he is in some other work.
Okay, Mataji. I think you do this. I will not show you the words. You say the words and then I will show you the translation.
Okay, yes, Mataji. Letter of instruction, text 1. Vacho vegam manasa krodha vegam jihva vegam udaropastha vegam etan veganyo vishaheta dhira sarvamapi mam prithvim sashishyat. Translation: a sober person who can tolerate the urge to speak, the mind's demands, the actions of anger, and urges of the tongue, belly, and genitals is qualified to make disciples all over the world.
Yeah, tell the next one.
Atyahara prayasascha prajalpo niyamagraha janasangascha laulyam cha shadbhir bhaktir vinashyati. Translation:
Oh, sorry, 1 second.
One's devotional service is spoiled when he becomes too entangled in the following 6 activities: eating more than necessary or collecting more funds than required, over endeavoring for mundane things that are very difficult to obtain, talking unnecessarily about the mundane subject matters, practicing the scriptural rules and regulation only for the sake of following, not for the sake of spiritual advancement, or rejecting the rules and regulations of the scriptures and working independently or whimsically. Associating with worldly minded person who are not interested in Krishna consciousness, and being greedy for mundane achievements. Text 3. Utsaha nishchaya dhairyat tatat karma pravartanat sangatyagat sato vritti shadbir bhakti prasidhyati. There are 6 principles favorable to the execution of pure devotional service: being enthusiastic, enduring with confidence, being patient, acting according to regulative principles such as Shravanam, Kirtanam, Vishnu Smaranam, hearing, chanting, and remembering Krishna, abandoning the association of non-devotees, and following in the footsteps of the previous acharyas. These 6 principles undoubtedly assure the complete success of pure devotional service. Text 4. Dadati pratigrihnati guhyamakhyati prichati bhukte bhojayate chaiva shadvidam priti lakshanam. Translation: offering gifts in charity, accepting charitable gifts, revealing one's mind in confidence, inquiring confidentially, accepting prasad and offering prasad are the 6 symptoms of the six symptoms of love shared by one devotee and another. Ishopanishad invocation prayer. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnam Udachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate. Translation: the personality of Godhead is perfect and complete, and because he is completely perfect in all emanations from him, such as phenomenal world, are perfectly equipped as complete wholes. Whatever is produced of the complete whole is also complete in itself. Because he is the complete whole, even though so many complete units emanate from him, he remains the complete balance. Ishopanishad text 1. Ishavasya midam sarvam yatkincha jagatyam jagat tena tyaktena bhujita magridha kasya svidhanam. Translation: everything animate or inanimate that is within the universe is controlled and owned by the Lord. One should therefore accept only those things necessary for himself, which are set aside as his quota, and one should not accept other things, knowing well to whom they belong. Thank you so much, Mataji.
అందరూ అయిపోయినట్టే కదా ఇంకా? I think everybody is done. Yeah, we can conclude the call. Giraj Prabhu? Okay. वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। श्रील प्रभुपाद बुक रीडिंग की जय। श्रीमद् भगवत गीता की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। चैतन्य चरितामृत की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। हरे कृष्णा, दंडवत प्रणाम। Thank you everybody for joining.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Mataji.
Mataji.
Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Hare Krishna. Thank you all.